Hello and welcome to the kitchen table this Wednesday. It's Alison Southern here, Team Vicar in Melksham Team Ministry. It's good to meet again across the airwaves today. I have to say it's a bit of a dark and drizzly day. In Scotland we would call it a dreich day. A day that kind of makes you feel a bit glum if you let it. Are you feeling a bit glum? I have to confess that there are some days, aren't there, where everything just feels like there is so much going on that is enough to make you feel glum. I was listening this morning regarding the exchanges between Donald Trump and his opponent in the upcoming elections, and the tone of the conversation was just so negative and bad-tempered and full of insult and lack of listening. I was listening yesterday as discussions were going on about what was happening with the lockdowns in the north of the country, and there just seems to be a lot of miscommunication, lots of anger and frustration. And I was talking today when I gathered together with some clergy friends, and we were having a conversation about what's happening when it comes to Christmas, all the things that we hope and dream and plan for every year as we prepare for that season, such an important season in the church where the incarnation of Christ is the point of welcome to so many people who don't come to church the rest of the year. Lots of things that are difficult to deal with. And then this morning's reading saw Paul in prison. Then an angel was sent and the chains fell off, and he put a cloak around him and he just walked out of his prison past the guards. So God freeing him from the chains that had held him there. And I found myself thinking, how do we free ourselves from the chains that tie us to bad behaviour? How do we free ourselves from the chains that bind us to behaviour that is as we expect? So we carry on, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. How we use power. How we do things in church. It won't be the same this year. Will that make it any less important? The chains that bind us are often chains that stop our minds from being freed and seeing a different way of being. I don't know what it would take to free the mind of maybe Donald Trump so that he is able to hear and engage with others without bluster and blow and aggression. I don't know what it will take the church to be able to reimagine itself in a world that is surely different in days of COVID and beyond. But for me, the freedom, the release of chains that I was reading in that passage this morning just reminded me of the sense of freedom that I found when Jesus came into my heart. He freed me from all sorts of things, all sorts of chains that had bound me with ways of behaving and ways of looking at the world. And in that freedom comes opportunity. I have no answers. We still have a government that seems to be unable to communicate clearly. We still have a pandemic which there is no clear answer to. And we still have Donald Trump and whatever will happen in America going on, as well as Brexit, as well as trying to work out just what we are doing here in this place. But I think if we free our minds, if we allow the chains that bind us into one-way thinking, then our world will look a very different place. At the beginning of the pandemic, there was a real sense of freedom in people maybe caring for each other more fully and less about themselves. There was a sense of community that was really deep and felt like it would blossom into something really rich and long-lasting. Is your community still feeling like that? Are you still doing the things that you did in the early days of lockdown? I don't know what the answer to that question is. But my prayer for today is that each one of us will know the release that we can find in Jesus. And when we find that, and we don't need to play games of power or one-upmanship, whether it's based in race or gender or sexuality, when we are open from our hearts to whomever we meet and recognise God in them, then we learn so much more about the love of God. And in that freedom, we become everything that God would want us to be. Easier said than done, I know. And yet it has to start somewhere. So maybe think about what it is that is your chain. What is it that in your life holds you back from being everything that you might be? Maybe it's something like judgment. Maybe it's fear. Maybe there are real chains that bind you in terms of relationships and the way you are living your life. Maybe the chains are the chains you put on your own heart. Whatever it is, I would encourage you to sit and think about those chains and set about releasing them, praying to God, or just cutting the chains yourself if you're not a believer in God. But don't forget He's there to love you and to help you and to set you free. And whatever Christmas will look like, the story of the incarnation is still very real. God loved us so much that He gave us His only Son to be born into our world, into the dirt and the mess and the mayhem of our life. And as He grew, Jesus walked alongside us, seeing our pain, knowing our joy, feeling our fear, and helping to free us from everything that would prevent us from being the best that we can be in Him. So maybe ponder. Don't forget this Sunday is Harvest Festival, and we will be having that outside under a marquee big tent, and it might be wet. The forecast isn't very good, but lots of you have been invited and we're going to stick with it. Wear a pair of wellies if you need to, bring a rug and a hot water bottle. The sun might shine, the rain might fall, but still that's harvest for you, isn't it? It's what we need for everything to grow in abundance. Don't forget to give generously for the food bank, so either bring gifts to share with the food bank or arrange to pay by backs, or you could bring money, which we will make sure they get, whichever way you'd like to do it. But come along, 11 o'clock this week. So no service at St Michael's, but St Barnabas at 11 o'clock. We're going to have an altar made out of hay, and it will be a celebration of the goodness of God. Do join us. Take care and God bless. Bye for now.